Today marks an important day. This is a video that I've been dreading to make for a little while now, better part of a month or something. It's the story of Chippy, and you would think that this is a happy story. If you watch the Manifesting Your Desires videos that I've made on YouTube, let you know that we were overcome with joy at just having this little bird in our lives. For those of you that don't know, Chippy was, and I'll start by saying that Chippy is no longer with us. Chippy has flown away, and it hurts me to think about it, and it hurts me to revisit these memories, but at the same time, I've kind of made my peace with it. I've accepted the fact that we did everything we could for this little bird, and it just wasn't in the cards that he was going to survive, not with us anyway. But I've kind of changed my views in a way of how I look at this situation and how I see Chippy. So I'm not as overcome with grief as I was when it first happened. So Chippy, who is Chippy? Chippy was a fantastic little bird that came to us exactly when we needed him or her. We couldn't quite figure out if it was a male or a female, but we always referred to him as Chippy or Chip Chip. And Chippy came to us at a time where, I haven't revealed this to too many people, but we were having some serious problems as a family. My partner and I were having some pretty serious fights, arguments. Became very close of breaking up as a family. And again, I don't say these things lightly. I don't reveal my personal, private life to just anyone. But I feel like this is important for the story and to understand why Chippy was so important. You know, I'm sure a lot of people might think, hey, I was just a little bird. Like, I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of it. It's just a little bird. But it's not just a little bird, you know? The way I see it now is Chippy was a little angel. Chippy was a fairy that came to us for healing and blessing of our family and bring us back together and to heal the wounds that were causing us to drive us apart. I'm very thankful for Chippy. With the story of Chippy, you can watch those Manifesting Your Desires videos. I highly suggest that you do. The first one's a bit long, but it's worth watching and getting through to understand kind of the whole story. But basically, Chippy was a bird that fell out of an oak tree that we have in the backyard. One of his siblings actually fell out of the tree about a week prior to that, but didn't make it. Something happened. It must have fell funny. We have actually a trampoline underneath the oak. So when Chippy fell, he didn't die, he somehow survived. Now, unbeknownst to us, maybe Chippy had some type of physical damage that we didn't notice. He did have some type of a neurological issue, which I'm not sure if that's the reason why he didn't make it. He could have been injured when he fell from the nest, I'm not sure. I've done a lot of research to understand kind of why this happened, what the greater meaning was behind this story, and what the lessons were for myself and for my family. I've come to find out that actually a lot of baby robins, somewhere, the estimations vary, but somewhere between 50 to 80% of baby robins don't make it their first year. So they have an extremely high mortality rate for a bird. Being that it's a migratory bird as well, they're susceptible to cold damage, and obviously they fly south for the winter for a reason. We don't see them here in Canada. We don't have robins in the winter. They fly down to Florida and warmer parts, as I understand, and they're actually seen down there as a nuisance because they're very dirty. Their poop is very corrosive, and they poop on everything, and people don't like them. But we love them because, you know, the robins signify the beginning of the spring and the return of the warm weather. So they're a very good, you know, good sign for us, and we love them, and we love their songs, and we loved our Chippy. So Chippy, just to finish the story here, Chippy fell out of the nest, or another thing I've come to find out is sometimes the parents, the mothers, or even the siblings will kick the other birds out if they detect that there's something wrong with them. So which is further leading me to believe that maybe something was not right with Chippy and he got kicked out. I've heard of some people trying to put the birds back in the nest, and they get kicked out again because they're like, no, we don't want this defective bird, you know, weighing down the whole flock, if you will. So, but even the mothers, and it's not a cold, heartless thing. It's just that's the way that species operates. Yeah, I mean, they probably want to ensure the survival of the fittest. Not up to us to say why they do what they do, but yeah, that to say that they're a very fragile little bird also. The chicks are very vulnerable to, as I said, cold, not getting enough food, sometimes being overfed, which is something that we still don't know. Did we overfeed? Because we were dropping worms in this little bird's beak like every half hour, every hour, you know, because the mothers during the day will come back and forth. You know, they have multiple chicks, mind you, so there's a lot of variables. And of course, when the bird dies, you know, we woke up one day and went to check on him, and he just wasn't moving anymore. But then, you know, the guilt sets in. And did we do something wrong? Did we not feed him enough? Did we overfeed him? Did he get dehydrated? Was there something wrong with him? Now, when Chippy fell out of the nest or got kicked out of the nest, he landed on the trampoline. The trampoline must have absorbed a lot of the impact, and that's what allowed him to survive, but he may very well have been injured and we just didn't know. Chippy had something wrong with one of his wings. Every so often he would just flap the one wing, but not the one side. And then he started hopping, which was a good sign that he was progressing. He was coming out of the nest, which is what they do. They go hop around outside of their nest, and that's when they're getting ready to take off. So Chippy was hopping around, but we noticed that something was up with one of his legs, which was on the same side as the wing that he sometimes didn't move. So I started to wonder, is there something neurologically wrong with him, or was there something, you know, wrong with his brain or with his nerves or with his spinal column that we weren't aware of? Anyway, when he fell out of the nest, yes, he did survive, but, you know, there could have been an underlying condition there. But he was progressing so well, and that's what makes it so heartbreaking, is that he was doing so well, you know. He went from being this helpless little bird to then wanting to be out of the nest and be around us, and he had such strength and vitality and life in him. We thought for sure one day we were going to see him fly, but unfortunately poor Chippy never got to fly. The way that I see it now, folks, is nature, the power of nature, call it God, call it whatever you want. Yes, I was able to manifest a little bird in this nest, and the experiment, as far as I'm concerned, was a success. But it came with a cost. You know, the joy that Chippy brought to our lives, the healing that he brought, and the salvation and the protection and the gift of Chippy had to come out of somewhere, and it had to be balanced out with a certain amount of sadness, I think. There cannot be joy without sadness. And the other thing as well is I find Mother Nature gave us Chippy, but he was never for us to have, to own, to hold. She was lending him to us, and then full well knowing that one day she was going to take him back. And I think that's what happened. Chippy served his purpose. We came back together as a family. We started focusing more on him and taking care of him, and less on our own bullshit that was kind of holding us up and causing strife in the family. And we were just focused on him. And the more we focused on him, the more we kind of cared about each other. It was an amazing thing. It was incredible, but also so heartbreaking at the same time. You know, I'll never forget that morning when Ange went to check on him and he wasn't alive anymore. And she came in, I was taking a shower, and she came in and said, "Matt, Chippy's dead." And I just was overwhelmed with emotion. And I remember thinking, like, why? Why did this happen? Right? I had to answer. I had to rationalize some reason why this happened. Why did I manifest a bird for it to just die? It seems so cruel and vain, and like, did I do this? You know, I felt so guilty and so confused, but it makes more sense now. You know, of course it was traumatizing at the time, but now I wouldn't change a thing, because at least we showed this little bird some compassion and were able to spend some time with him. You know, those 2 weeks or whatever when we had Chippy were some of the best times of our lives. It sounds strange to say that, but that a little bird could have that effect, but it's so true. There's a lot of reasons I could think of why he didn't make it, or why he left when he did. But really, I think some part of it also needs to remain a mystery, because that's life, is that we don't have all the answers. And that's kind of what makes life so magical and so enchanting and so fantastic, is that there's a little bit of mystery to it. And that's okay. That's okay to not know everything, because we're never going to know everything. We're never going to have all the answers. So I guess that this video wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be to make. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm over the grief of it all, but I understand it now. I understand it better, and I understand the why of why this happened, you know. And I understand that I'm not to blame for Chippy dying, you know. We're not experts. We took a chance, and we did what I think any good-hearted human would do, which is to try, at least try, right, to save this little bird. And like I said before in other videos, all of our animals are rescues, and we've never had one that we didn't lose to natural causes, you know. So it was hard. It was a hard lesson, a very hard lesson, but it was one that I'm very grateful to have learned, because it taught us so much. And as I said, it brought us back together. How incredible is that? That a little bird like that. So, you know, manifesting it, one very important lesson is be careful what you wish for, because there's undoubtedly going to be a consequence. And I say that, you know, not in a sinister, you know, doing a deal with the devil sort of thing, where there's going to be, you know, unknown consequences to your wish or to your contract, but knowing that what you may get is not what you want, but it's what you need. And I think that's what happened here, is we got not what we wanted. The experiment was a huge success for that reason, is that we were able to manifest not what we wanted, but what we needed, right? So the universe said, got your request, I thought about it, and here's what I can do for you. Take it or leave it, right? There's no choice involved. It's like, this is what you get, right? Deal with it. Deal with it one way or another, or don't deal with it and suffer the consequences of that, right? There could have been that as well. We could have gone down that road of just being overcome with grief and being resentful and depressed and enraptured with anxiety and distress. But we chose not to do that. We chose to understand the reason why this happened, and the parts of it that we don't understand, we're okay with that. We're going to leave that the way it is. You know, we had a wonderful ceremony in the woods here with Chippy and a few of our other animals that are buried out there in the pet cemetery, and under an oak tree, actually. And it was beautiful. You know, we buried the ashes of our dog that had been sitting on the shelf here for many years since we moved in here. So it was time. It was time to get Marley back in the ground, back where he belonged, back to the source. And it was fantastic. And now all of our animals are sharing that energy in the woods together. Each and every one of them are under an oak tree, now that I think about it, which is awesome. It's so meaningful for me as a Celtic shaman, as a druid. It's so meaningful to know that they're under that oak tree, those oak trees, and that they're nearby, and their energy is still strong and watching over us, and in some ways still around and playing with us and hanging out. So it's a wonderful feeling, and this to me they've kind of come together with our ancestors and with our dearly departed who have left us some, you know, not that long ago. You know, this all happened, this whole Chippy thing happened around the same time that I lost one of my aunts that I was quite close with, who really meant a lot to me. And we lost her to a degenerative disease. And, you know, it was just overwhelming. A lot of stuff happening at the same time, very busy with work, very busy with various events going on. And so it's been a busy time. It's been a time of really making the importance of setting that time aside to grieve and to process and to think about this situation and to talk about it and to really appreciate the magnitude of this this synchronicity is what it was. All the connections there, you know. I don't want to go into it too much, but just things like we had a cat also that passed away recently that her nickname was Mimi. And Mimi was my aunt's nickname, who also passed away. My mom would refer to my Aunt Mimi as her little bird. And then we had this little bird that came to us, and we would say, you know, the little bird has flown away, you know. That was applicable to our little bird who didn't make it, and my Aunt Mimi, who her spirit flew away. And quite honestly, I was so relieved because she was in such a bad place. It was so relieving. It was so important to see that her suffering was over, you know. But to also somehow make sense of that, all that, with a little bird who was at the beginning of its life and also, you know, flew away. That was a lot to process all at once, but really, when you look back at it, boy, those lessons, they were so important. They were so vital. They were so crucial to understand, to take the time to process why it happened. And now I'm just so thankful. I'm so grateful for the whole thing, for being blessed with the spirit of Chippy, with being blessed with the spirit of my aunt, who really took me under her wing whenever I was a troubled teenager, and really made a huge difference in my life. You know, I still think about her. I still hear her voice in my head. I see her beautiful smile almost every day. I do see it every day when I have an ancestral altar right here that I honor the ancestors every morning now. And so I physically see her beautiful smile, but she's always there in my mind. Every time I close my eyes, she's there with me, with her dad and the other, you know, various family members and ancestors that are all kind of part of they've returned to the source. So when I think of one, I think of all of them, you know. Sort of like the fairy shamanism. It's like they're all tied together just like us. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And to know that one day we're going to go back to that same source where we came from, where we're going, you know, that's where the meaning, a lot of the meaning anyway, really lies. So that is my video. I hope that you're as happy about the ending as I am. Kind of a sad ending, but at the same time, kind of a joyous one too, because it just makes me feel so appreciative and grateful. Grateful is really the biggest word, because I wouldn't take it back and I wouldn't change a thing, because I feel blessed of the way that things did happen. Because I could easily think, oh, it could have been so much worse, could have been so much better. That's not really what happened. What happened was this is what we got, and that was the gift. And that's what I'm thankful for. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your viewership. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.
Again.